This is for the new college grads. Congratulations on making it through college. I'm sure you're excited. Enjoy the time with your family and friends. And I'm sure that you're optimistic and hopeful about what comes next, your next phase of life, whether you're going off to work or going to grad school or whatever it is, or you're taking a little bit of time off. I encourage you to take a little bit of time off and kind of enjoy and recharge yourself before you embark on whatever's next that you do. Work that out with your parents. But congratulations, you've made it. Even through this, take some time to celebrate, but you do have some decisions, some questions that you need to answer or at least think about as you move on with the rest of your life. And that is involving student loans, especially if you have federal student loans. So you want to make sure that you understand how much debt you have. You want to contact your loan servicer and make sure that you update your contact information, your address, email, phone number, so that they can get in touch with you with important information or if they have questions or whatever. Also, you want to understand your repayment plan options. So federal student loans always start out with the same so-called standard repayment plan, which is what's called a fixed repayment plan for 10 years. That means you have the same payment, 10 years, you make the payment for 10 years, you pay off the loan. Done. End of story. Okay? But also understand that you have many other repayment plans available. Now, this option does not exist anywhere else in the world. Only federal student loans offer this. So it's unlike any other type of loan that you or your parents may have. This does not exist on car loans, mortgages, or anything else. But you can switch repayment plans at any time for any reason based on your circumstances. So, like I said, everybody starts out with a 10-year repayment plan. You can always switch to something called an extended if you have more than $30,000 worth of debt. That stretches out the payments over 25 years. Or you could do something called graduated. And the graduate has both a graduated standard 10-year or graduate extended 25-year version. And all it simply means is that the payments start low and are fixed for 2 years. And every 2 years, they automatically go up. Right, until you pay off your loan at the end of that time period, 10 years, 25 years, or whatever. Those are known as the fixed repayment plans because they have a fixed repayment date. As long as you follow the payment, whatever it is, you will pay off the loan by a certain date. You also have access to what are called income-based or income-driven repayment plans. And that means where your payments are set to a percentage of your income. And there's a bunch of different plans with different percentages and whatever. I'll leave out those details for the moment. But basically, your payment is a percentage of your income. And so while that may seem awesome, because, chances are if you're starting out, maybe your salary is a little bit lower because you're starting out, so your payments will be really low. However, if your payments don't cover the interest that accrues on your loans every month, then you could end up making payments. But whatever portion of the interest you don't cover gets added to your loan balance, which is why sometimes you see in the news, people say, oh, I've paid all these years, but my balance has actually gone up. Or I've paid all these years and my balance has hardly moved, because in those cases, your payment would cover the interest, but only a tiny bit to principal. Now, it may or may not be a good or bad thing, depending on what you're going for, but just understand that there is that possibility depending on how the math works out. But understand that now that you've graduated, your student loan payments are going to start 6 months after graduation. So if you graduate in May, it means that your payments are going to start roughly in November, December-ish timeframe, give or take, right? So you do have a little bit of time to think about this, but you do want to think about this. But my advice to you is actually to think about a much bigger question and to think about where you are on the financial spectrum. Some people will really focus on paying off their debt as fast as possible. And don't get me wrong, there is nothing wrong with that, okay? Most of the world, quite frankly, thinks that way. And so people say, well, if you pay off your debt as fast as possible, you pay less in interest, and then it frees up that monthly payment for you to go do something else. Okay, that's fair. Nothing wrong with that. But the opposite end of that spectrum is to focus on building wealth. And those two things are really opposite. Building wealth, or building wealth in this way, involves saving, but most importantly, giving your money time to grow. And if you happen to be a business major, or if you know of a friend who's a business major, ask them about the compound interest curve. The more time you give it to grow, the curve starts to really accelerate later in the years and it goes almost vertical, where just compound interest is just compounding, growing. Well, in order to get to that point where your money does that, you have to give it time to get there. And if you don't give it time to get there, you can't ever get there. So what does that really mean? I would encourage you to think about where you are in the spectrum. If you're looking to build long-term wealth, right, have more money for retirement, or perhaps retire early, or have money for a down payment of a house, or things like that, then you really need to be more on the build wealth end of the spectrum. But if you're just concerned about paying off debt, or let's say you don't like the idea of being in debt and you want to be able to sleep at night, then yeah, okay, fine, go off and pay off debt, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that, like I said. But it is really a bigger philosophical question that you really have to answer for yourself. Where are you and what do you want down the road? Now, I wish someone had given me this advice when I graduated, and honestly, I would encourage you to think about it sooner than later and decide how you want to manage your finances, big picture, because you have a lot of time on your hands, right? You have a long way to go. I mean, honestly, like I graduated college a long time ago, so I have way less time than you. So I encourage you to take advantage if you're going to do it, okay? But I would really consciously think about this and which way you want to go. I hope that helps. As always, stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you next time.